Welcome to How Good It Is today. The best character in the game, of course, is Akuma Homura. 4 Excel discs, 1 blast disc, where the charge discs don't matter anymore. So yeah, she is going to be a whole lot of great stuff bundled into one unit. So let's just get through it. First off, her personal is probably the weirdest part about her, because it's a 20 to 13 turn cooldown. That basically means you're never going to use this more than once per battle. And all it does, it removes granted effects from all enemies, which granted, that is pretty darn good. Like, granted effects are the yellow effects that you see on enemies, like damage cut, for example. That's a yellow effect that gets removed from all enemies, which sounds pretty good, but you can only use this once per battle, and in most battles enemies don't use granted effects. Also keep in mind that you're not going to be able to use this in mirrors, because no mirrors is going to go for 6 turns or something like that. Like, what mirrors better go 6 turns? What the fuck? So that's never going to happen. So it's quite the tech choice, but the thing is, it's a tech choice that you have. You have access to this in case you ever need it. It's like an emergency button that you can hit if you ever require it. Her stats are incredibly through the roof. She doesn't quite have the highest attack. I thought that she might have next to the Anniversary Yachi unit, the History Yachi unit, but because there's more dark units than Aqua units, I think she actually does have more attack than History Yachi, just because of attribute enhancement. So with attribute enhancement in check, keeping that in mind, you might actually have more attack than any other character in the game. And in fact, we're gonna check it right now. There it is. It's Hideki version Homura. How does Hideki version Homura have slightly more attack? That's actually kind of insane. But after that, it's Devil Homura. Right after that, you can, by the way, you can see that Hideki version might have slightly more attack, but look at that HP stat. Look at that HP stat. Look at that defense stat. What are these stats on a unit that also is on top of the attack game? That is kind of insane, by the way. So yeah, that's that. Moving on to I'm gonna talk about the EX skill, which she just has passively. So if you have her at 4 slot, she does 10% attack up to all allies just passively. She just does that. And she also regenerates 6 MP per turn for herself and all allies, which is quite a good amount. It's a pretty decent amount to just have as a random passive, right? Next up, the Connect. Dark attack up 52.5%. You really want to play on a dark team, right? Otherwise, defense pierce and ignore damage cut, which is more just tech choices, as in, like, maybe sometimes you find an enemy that has really high attack, that has really high damage cut. If you don't, connects don't really matter that much anyway. Like, I've basically glossed over both connects until now, and there's going to be basically another connect that I'm just going to gloss over. But just in theory, you can use this to fight against an enemy that has really high defense or really high damage cut and just counter them entirely, okay? Moving on to the more important part, it's the Doppel or Magia 2. That's an interchangeable name. They're basically the same. It does attribute strength and damage to all enemies. Okay, it does defense down to all enemies, MP gain down to all enemies, dark attribute resistance down. That's the only, like, really good effect so far. It also does skill seal. Now, skill seal is quite juicy in mirrors, and could she even get to Magia 2 or Magia in mirrors? We're gonna get to that. She has also a damage increase to self and a dark attack up to self. So mostly this is the kind of Magia or like Doppel that is not that incredibly powerful in most situations. Like, it's a nice thing to, for example, on Kimochi. On Kimochi, it's really nice to give the enemy dark resistance down, because that's just bonus damage that you're generating out of nowhere, and you're also getting the attribute strength from damage on Kimochi. That's just a really nice thing to have. So far, it seems, yeah, it's alright for Kimochi, but the buffs are only for self and not for the entire party. That's kind of sad, you know. And also the other 2 debuffs don't really matter, and skill seal doesn't matter in Kimochi either. So for Kimochi, you have some okay stuff here, some stuff that's not that important. But still, the buffs to itself are pretty damn powerful, actually. And the darkest resistance down is pretty darn nice as well. Now in mirrors, if you were to use a Doppel like this in mirrors, You got the defense down, which is okay. More importantly, the MP gain down to make sure that enemies don't get to Magia against you. You have the skill seal, which entirely screws over most enemies immediately when it hits them in mirrors. That's pretty good. And you're putting yourself on the field as a big target to kill enemies, even if you do somehow still get Mito rained after this or Homo rained after this. So this basically guarantees a victory in most cases in mirrors against enemies that try to Magia against you, I'm gonna say. Because they get kind of screwed up, or by enemies that try to use actives against you, they're gonna get screwed over kind of by this. But still nothing groundbreaking. This Magia 2, it's solid, but it's nothing too super duper. However, then we get to the SE, and this is probably the most stacked SE in the entire game, in my opinion, because let's just go down the list. First off, a little bit of anti-provoke for some reason. Look, she doesn't need it. She doesn't need anti-provoke, but she has it, okay? You have a anti-debuff shield, you have an anti-ailment shield, that's pretty good. Bonus MP gain up. You have more regenerate MP. I mean, you already have regenerate MP from the EX passive. But here's more. Here's just more of it. So you just regenerate a whole bunch more MP anyway, which also gets increased by the MP gain up already. Okay, so already we have a bunch of really cool synergy with itself. And then MP up when attacked by weak element. 11 MP. That's a lot. Keep in mind, once again, we also already have base MP gain up and MP regen from 2 sources, and then we also generate a whole bunch of MP when attacked by light damage. But won't we die to light damage? No, because we have light attribute attack up by like a damage cut by like 35%. What the fuck? 35% damage cut from light. Okay, and then we continue. Anti-charm, although it's really anti-charm against anything that isn't monochrome, but you know. Also dark attack up, because more dark attack. Who needs more attack up? We do. We need all of the attack up. And then here comes probably the best node in any SE in the entire game that makes the entire unit go from pretty solid to kind of overpowered, and probably is going to be one of the most overpowered units for like the next 5 years. GP generates 100 MP at the start, or rather at the end of the first turn, and at the end of the second turn, which is the exact same thing that Infinite Iroha does. So you just get 2 turns where you're going to basically get a free double. You're going to get a free double on turn 2, you're going to have a free double on turn 3, especially with all the other regenerate MPs that are also going to go off at the same time with the MP gain up stuff. You only need like 1 or 2 MP up Memoria to actually guarantee it's going to be a double. But here's the interesting part. This node is active in mirrors. Now you know that Infinite Iroha had the exact same node, but it wasn't active in mirrors? This one is. This one straight up is. You can use this in mirrors, which means that in mirrors, as soon as your turn 1 ends, every Akuma Homura in the entire battle, yours and the enemies, are going to get 100 MP plus bonuses, which means they're gonna get a double. They're gonna get a double immediately, and fire off this Magia 2 immediately. Right off the battle, immediately. So that's pretty powerful. That's gonna kind of dominate the entirety of the mirrors meta for basically ever now, because if you're fighting against an enemy and the enemy has Akuma Homura, then as soon as you end your first turn, they're gonna retaliate with their own double. Keep that in mind. You fight an enemy that has an Akuma Homura, they're gonna double immediately because they get their first turn with this regeneration already happening. Right? Because the regeneration happens when you end your turn. You end your turn, they're gonna get that. Okay? So, as weird as it sounds, if you have an Akuma Homura on your team, they have an Akuma Homura on their team, they're gonna get their Magia first. They're gonna get it first. They're gonna get it first and they're gonna immediately fire it at you on their turn before you get your turn. But if they don't have it, or maybe you somehow gimp them with maybe like a Dark Mitama, you gimp them so they can't actually fire it against you, they can't actually destroy you, and you survive the first turn, then you have a doppel, and then you kill them. And that's gonna be all of what Mirrors is gonna be. Either they kill you on their first turn because they have Akuma Homura, or you kill them on your second turn because you have Akuma Homura. And that's basically all there is to it. There's like nothing else you can really do much with Mira's meta at this point. And of course this also means that in PvE, I said this earlier in Historia Yachio review, where Historia Yachio kills everything on turn 1, and then on turn 2 and turn 3, Akuma Homura kills everything. So you will always be killing everything if you have those two units. So if just Historia Yachio and with Akuma Homura, you've basically trivialized like 99.9% of the content in this game. What else do you need? You only need these two characters, and then the entire game is just fucking solved, man. Okay, now here's the interesting bit. There's 3 extra nodes here. These 3 extra nodes are not part of the base kit, okay? These are special nodes. These are special nodes that you get specifically only on Akuma Homura, because they just decided that Akuma Homura has 9 extra SE nodes. 3 of these are skills. The other 6 are just stat upgrades. And normal Marukami also gets 9 extra SE nodes. Maybe down the line in the future other characters also get extra SE nodes, but for now Akuma Homura and Marukami get bonus SE nodes. I'm not going to talk much about the Marukami upgrades because they just make her fall in line with current characters, aside from the fact that she has Survive, which might be active in Mirrors, which is going to be kind of busted. But that is a whole nother story that we're not going to go into right now. But the point is, Akuma Homura has 3 extra nodes. The first one is even more market damage up because you can't have enough market damage. The next one is more light attribute attacker, which light attribute damage cut, which together with the one she already has, puts her on 60% light damage cut. She takes less damage from light than she does from other elements. Yo? Are you fucking serious? Yeah, she takes less damage from light than other elements. That is kind of crazy. While also getting a shit ton of MP from light. That's kind of crazy. So even though her Magia 2, as I said earlier, her doppel, is not the best for Kimachi, the fact that she gets so much MP from getting hit by light without taking that damage herself is pretty good. Like, she actually just gets it doppel really, really fast without needing to do anything because of this effect. Some people have said that she might not be first pick for any Kimachi team, but she's still up there. She's still up there for the Kimachi where you fight against the light type Kimachi. I think it's the Opal neck or something like Opal. Opal Kimachi is the one where you use the dark type cards. I think that's the one where she might be pretty good now. Next up, she also gets Dark Attack Up. Another Dark Attack Up? Of course it's more Dark Attack Up. You don't think this is of course Dark Attack Up. And more Status Aimant Resistance, because Aimants might be able to stop her, so let's not have her be stopped by Status Aimants. Cool. And then we have her active, which is kind of weird. So it removes buffs from enemies, which together with her personal, which removes counter effects, can basically remove all red effects from enemies, because red are buffs, and all yellow effects, which are ground effects, from all enemies. That's pretty cool. It also does MP damage, so it just removes 30 MP from all enemies. Okay, highly situational, probably will not be that interesting in almost all cases. But now we get to the interesting part. She has a very special effect. Receive damage up 3000. This one doesn't have a link because it's not even an effect that we know about. This is an entirely new effect that has been added to the game with Akuma Homura. Now, what does this do? This means that whenever an enemy takes damage, an instance of damage on one of their tiles, they will receive an additional 3000 bonus damage. Now this 3000 bonus damage happens at the end of the damage calculation, right? Which means that after the entirety of the damage has already calculated, let's say you think that the damage is about to show up on screen. Let's say you've done 10,000 damage. It's about to show up on screen, but someone comes along, and before that damage shows up on screen, they say, no, add 3,000 to that. So that 10,000 becomes 13,000. That's what it does. Let's say the enemy has 1 billion defense, like actually 1 billion defense. So your damage that you deal to the enemy is like 250, which is the lowest it can be. 250 is the lowest, plus minus 5%. So you do 250 damage to the enemy, but then it just slaps a 3000 on top of that, which means that in theory, this is actually really fucking good against enemies with insanely high defenses, because even if an enemy has infinity defenses, you still deal the base damage of 250 plus 3000, so 3,250 damage is the base damage with this effect. Now, here's why that's actually kind of terrible. Nowadays, everyone has so much fucking attack that this just doesn't happen, that enemies have really high defense, like way more defense than your attack, I mean. Secondly, her connect gives defense pierce and ignore damage cut, which already counters enemies with high defenses and high damage cut, so the only time where this might be important, which is against enemies with high defenses, this doesn't matter. Now some people are saying, oh, but this could be good in mirrors, because in mirrors you deal less damage than you do in normal battles. By the way, in case you don't know this, you only deal 70% of your normal damage in mirrors that you deal outside of mirrors, in case you guys didn't know that. So this is still outside of that 70%. On top of that, it's still 3,000. Like, it's still 3,000 on top of that. That's pretty cool. But it's just not that good. You can say, okay, but what if an enemy occupies many tiles? It's an enemy that occupies all 9 enemy tiles. That's still 3,000 bonus damage per tile. It's 9 times 3, right? That's 27,000 bonus damage. But 27,000 bonus damage against 9 tiles in total, it's not that much. It really isn't that much. Even if you do it 3 turns in a row, it really isn't that much. So this is the kind of effect that it's nice to have. It's nice to do a little bit more damage, but overall it's really not gonna do much. It should be way more than 3,000 to actually have any impact on anything. But even outside of that, even if you say this is just like a little bit of bonus damage, this active removes buffs. That's pretty good. Just removing buffs is pretty good. And like I said, together with the personal, you remove both buffs and granted effects. That's pretty good. And the MP damage might actually be pretty decent in mirrors. Once again, it's mirrors. To stop enemies from getting an immediate doppel against you, if it's, for example, a Doppel Kyoko or a Dark Mitama, who both start with a whole bunch of MP already. This destroys their MP and they don't actually get to use their Magia. However, keep in mind, this doesn't work against enemy Akuma Homuras, because Akuma Homuras get 100 MP, which is so much, like immediately when their turn starts, which is long after the MP damage, so they're still getting their doppel. So this doesn't counter them, but it counters everyone else, just not Akuma Homura. So overall, we can say that Akuma Homura is the kind of character that just destroys everything on turn 2, that destroys everything on turn 3, and together with Historia Yachio, trivializes the entire game. With her passive being active in mirrors, mirrors will now be forever changed, because you cannot fight an enemy Akuma Homura team and let them get a turn. If an enemy Akuma Homura team gets a turn and their Akuma Homura is alive, you're dead. That's it, you're just dead. But if you have an Akuma Homura and you get to your second turn, you just win. You win immediately on the spot. That's what mirror is gonna be. Ranked mirrors is gonna be fucking weird. The new, like both forms of ranked mirrors, the old ranked mirrors and the new form of ranked mirrors, they're both gonna be kind of insane now with this character in the mix. She takes like no damage from light type, which is kind of cool. She just is really strong across the board. Like, she has ailment resistance up, she regenerates a whole bunch of MP, she has debuff and ailment shields. For some reason she ignores provoke. Okay, I think it's supposed to be like thematically the Sayaka counter, by the way, because she doesn't like Sayaka. It's okay, no one likes Sayaka except Sayaka fans, and Mami fans, I guess, and Hyoko fans. Not Madoka fans though, because Sayaka made Madoka cry. But yeah, overall she just has many different tools for many situations, but even if you don't have a need of a very special tools like the MP gain down and the defense down and the skill seal and the damage defense piece, ignore damage, and she has all of the different cool tools, while on top of all of her different cool tools, just being extremely solid at killing everything on turn 2 and turn 3 in any situation. Which makes her probably a mainstay in almost every single content in the game forever. And that's basically all you have to say. She's a mainstay in the content of all content in the game for basically forever. Cool. Crazy. Hope you like having a Devil Homura Overlord, because she's here to stay. Next up, her gacha also comes with 2 Memoria. The first one is damage increase 50%, attack up 10%, and MP gain up 10.5%. Keep in mind that if you want to guarantee a doppel from her effects, you will need 2 Memoria that give at least like 10 to 12.5% MP gain up. So this can be one of those 2 Memoria, but at the same time also giving insane aggressiveness basically to you. So if you roll for Akuma Homura, hopefully you're also gaining maximum break on this Memoria. Then you can throw it right on there, because this is tailor-made for Akuma Homura to facilitate not just a Magia turn 2, but a double turn 2 with the MP gain up, and it's gonna hurt with the damage increases. Then on top of that, if you wanna disrupt your enemies a lot more, here's the upgrade to Meteor Rain. And I mean this is the upgrade to Meteor Rain. So Meteor Rain does 50% attack down to all enemies and like somewhere around 50% defense down to all enemies on a 5-turn cooldown. Well, this one does 40% defense down to all enemies, so it's a little bit less, but the defense down part doesn't matter that much. The more important part is it does a total of 55% attack down. It's 5% more attack down on the same cooldown, and it's spread across multiple debuffs, which means that enemies that have debuff shields have their debuff shields eaten away a lot faster and then still have debuffs stick on them. But at the same time, the stats are way better than Meteor Rain. Like, these stats are way better than Meteor Rain by so much. So yeah, this is the improved Meteor Rain, which some people have already dubbed at this point either Homu Rain. You can either call this Homu Rain, or you can call this, and this is the pun, Homu Rain, because this is the reign of Homu, and I hope you're ready for it, because yeah, this is, with Meteor Rain already being one of the top 3 best Memoria in the game, now you have Homu Rain being a total upgrade on Meteor Rain, so you have an even better Meteor Rain. That's pretty cool. Hope you guys enjoy this. With an upgrade on basically any MP Memoria in the game, because it's not the best MP Memoria in the game, because it's also incredibly offensive in its stats and its effects. So not only is this character, this Akuma Homura, here to stay, both his Memoria are also absolutely fucking busted. So just value-wise, this might be the highest value gacha we've ever had in the entire game. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and see you guys next time.